You're watching the Chaos Protocol on Transplanar RPG, an all-transgender, people of color-led dark fantasy TTRPG show set in an original non-colonial, anti-orientalist multiverse. If you like what you see, please consider pledging to our Patreon to support the show and get access to a patron-only after-show, early podcast episodes, GM notes, character sheets, and even the chance for your tabletop OC to cameo in our series. Thank you so much for watching, and enjoy. The Chaos Protocol is a dark fantasy series that may contain content that is triggering for some viewers. Content warnings for this episode may include fantasy violence, blood, complex relationships, visions, trauma, death of loved ones, and references to torture. Arc 2, Episode 19, Steel Gleams, from Carved Inside an Empty Urn by Connie Chong. The Hall of Stolen Chance is a shadowy throne room supported by pillars of pure bone and arches of black jade. Prayer papers dangle in blackened strings. Smoke curls upward from incense holders, filling this chamber with the thick, heady scent of worship. At the end of this hall, an ivory throne gleams like a dagger flashing out of an assassin's cloak. It stands upon a raised dais in a moat of molten silver. And kneeling before this moat, their lips trembling with failure, are 3 demons recently returned from the city of heaven. Xiaocheng is still bleeding from the shoulder. Tangtang's vulpine eyes dart from smoke to pillar to moat to throne to pillar. Bai Guzing is the calmest amongst the trio, or at least she appears to be. Tada long black hair obscures the smallest knot of fear between Tada eyes. Sitting upon this throne is Queen Ti Gu, the first fallen, beginning of the end, Lord of Death, sovereign on low of the underworld, the Silver Tilian. She wears robes of pure black, limned by embroidery the same violently silver color as Tada long, sweeping hair, as Tada eyes. A black hua dian in the shape of a lotus gleams upon Tada forehead. Their face is soft and rugged, peaceable and thunderous, masculine and feminine, loving and hateful. She looks exactly like her sister, and nothing like her at all. The 3 demons press their foreheads against the black tile of the Hall of Stolen Chance. Bai Guzing cries out, "Oh, Lord of Death, great sovereign on low, please forgive these 3 lowly demons and give us another chance to procure this river gourd that you seek." Queen Ti Gu does not move. Their face makes no expression. Their eyes betray no emotion. When she speaks, her voice is flat but venomous, like a serpent hiding its fangs. Forgive is an interesting word. It implies you have disappointed. You could not disappoint me. I held no expectations for you in the first place. The river runs as the river rolls. Demons will do what demons will do. Place your own selfish interests above all else. Xiaocheng throws his palms against the floor. Blue blood splatters onto the black tile. "My queen, please, I was the one who was weak. I should be the one to bear the brunt of your edict." "Xiaocheng, you fool. My queen, I am the leader. I should answer for our failure." Enough. I tire of this. 30 years in the cauldron of needles. Split the time amongst yourselves as you wish. You are dismissed. As the despair and fear registers on their faces, Tsigu flourishes a hand and the demons fold out of existence like paper cranes unbecoming. And now, alone, the queen of the underworld taps the armrest of her ivory throne with the painted nails of her right hand in deepest black. The call of the mist is growing, sister. But I am strong, far stronger than you. I have resisted it for 4,000 lifetimes. What's one more? Inside Plumleaf Courtyard, we see trees swollen with overripe fruits, earth teeming with thick golden pollen, and the erratic, flickering residue of volatile chronomancy. Xiaocheng steadies Yinghe, who gingerly holds themselves around the torso as though their ribs are bruised. Brother Goose pecks forlornly at the Ascension Gate, honking every now and then, where the last of this teleportation magic is quickly fading. The courtier of four symbols turns. They shield the river gourd at their hip with their hands. Their bright orange eyes dart from Goose to Yinghe to Lumièra to Xainan, and then, finally, to Seir. Fear. Just like the fear in Xiaolong's face flickers in Xiaocheng's gaze, their eyes travel to that bright blue blood still slick on your mouth, Seir, and they take a step back away from you. Why did you do that?
And Seir begins heavily panting. As the monstrification lingers for a moment, and then his eyes catch on Nova, catch on the blood that drips past his dark lips, and onto the fear on Xiaocheng's face. And as soon as the crashing wave of sense, realization beats against him, What did I just do?
You bit that demon. I thought I saw something in your eyes the last time your party came back. The hunger of the devouring. I don't know how, but that hunger is in you.
I would watch it. Lumièra steps up, eyes very pointed on them, before passing Seir a cloth she pulled out of her cloak to wipe their face with.
I say only what I see. The truth in his eyes. The disaster of the devouring. It is in him. I don't know how, but it is in him.
And Xainan steps between Xiaocheng and Seir, having only glanced at Seir, honestly. Now, please, I know that you all are a bit sensitive about such things, but I think there's a perfectly logical explanation for it, Xainan says over his shoulder.
Question for Lumièra. Which hand do you use to reach out to a cloth to hand to Seir? Where the gold is?
Left is where the gold is, right.
Gotcha. Seir sees your hand, and there's a moment his eyes flick to your other arm, and he watches your gaze and tries to pat his mouth dry of the blue blood that begins to darken around the messy stubble on his face. Thank you. And hearing Xainan's cue, something snaps back at Seir again. The openness of his monstrosity, the heart laid bare, the lid that he's tried to keep on his body exposed to everyone. Yes, I just wanted to protect Ying He, and sense arrives back in Seir's mind for a moment as he sidesteps away from Nova for a moment to see if his friend is still here, the friend who took a devastating blow on his behalf.
Ying He has stepped out from the shade of the peace tree that they were smacked into, and they're now holding their ribs tenderly, slightly bent over, their long hair falling into their silver eyes, tentatively on the edges of this conversation, not inviting himself into it, but observing, like she always does. When your eyes sight hers, she widens her gaze and opens her mouth slightly, like she wants to say something, but then closes it.
I just wanted to protect everyone. And that's the honest truth of it all. And that's a
Xiaocheng.
clumsy excuse.
Xiaocheng pauses, takes this in. This entire time they've been taking slow, careful steps away from Seir, away from your party. But when you say that you've just been trying to protect everyone, they glance back at you. What are your intentions toward the Emperor?
Actually, we've spoken to her.
What? While you were taken? She's okay?
Yes.
What has she been saying?
Actually, I have a few questions of my own after our conversation.
Did the Emperor say something about me?
Only about your relationship to that. As Seir gazes his blue eyes down onto the gourd at Xiaocheng's waist.
Yeah.
That you
Questions for me about the
No,
river
no.
gourd from the Emperor?
And a better understanding, we think, as to what happened to everyone. So why don't we all just take a minute, take a deep breath, and start over now that those demons are gone.
Okay. A deep breath. Yes, I can do that. And Xiaocheng puts on a bright smile, takes in a deep breath. They exhale. Oh dear. Oh god. Oh no.
Whoa.
I ruined
And Xainan
everything.
steps forward.
I ruined
Whoa.
everything.
Xiaocheng.
I ruined everything. First I had the horrible, terrible nightmare, and then I tried to ignore that nightmare, and then the Western Wind God's special goose dinner, and then I couldn't find a special two-headed goose, so I had to find a normal one from the mortal realm, and then Zhiling wanted me to deliver a special letter to the throne room, and Lu Hua wanted the finest silk to wrap a gift in, and a gem from the underworld for the Forge Master, and then Twinzing put in 1,000,000 overtime requests, and all the gods were complaining, and they wanted me to pick up their ships, and then Lao Hui wanted me to gather all the symbols for a friendly gamble before the announcement, which I don't even know what that means, and there was a preparation for the decoration itself, and then I snuck in, and I got the gourd, and then everyone was gone, and the Emperor's trapped, and they're in even more danger ahead. It's all my fault. And Xiaocheng slumps onto the ground and keeps weeping.
Xainan has been walking towards them the whole time, hand out. And when they fall to their knees, if they'll let him, he puts a hand on their shoulder.
It's like they don't even notice your touch. They are so consumed with sobbing. You feel their shoulders heave up and down in shuddering breaths.
Hey. We're here to help.
hers, because I don't deserve it.
Xainan looks over his shoulder at the other two, just like, help me. I don't.
I feel like Seir has been looking at Lumièra. Like, we watched the weeping, and slowly he just turned over towards Lumièra,
We
sharing
make eye
like,
contact,
just a look.
exactly. Just at the same time, like, Lumièra's, wildly enough, Lumièra's brain runs the same mile a minute that they're expunging information. So she's catching everything that is said, but just doesn't know how to react to it. And I think she just kind of like looks at Seir, eyebrows sky high, and just like shrugs a bit.
Yeah.
And then will crouch down right in front of them, next to Xainan, taking a knee, not touching them, but being close enough to them that they know her presence is also right next to them at the same time.
Xainan hikes up his... Oh, go ahead.
Remember when my friend said breathe? In through your nose and out through your mouth.
Oh, everything's ruined. I ruined everything. Everything's ruined. I ruined everything.
We all get second chances. We get
What
them.
if
We're here now. Now is our second chance.
You called us here. You did.
Seir sees the cherry blossom petals continuously fall after that blow, as it shadows over Nova, over a weeping Xiaocheng, and he remembers a childhood tantrum. A moment maybe where he crouched in the darkness of their room and sobbed, and a white-haired, brightly pink-eyed, loving person crouched by him and said these words: It's okay. It's okay to feel overwhelmed. It's okay to feel like everything is out of your control. And Seir creeps closer. The monstrification begins to subside. The fangs and tusks recede back into the jawline resetting against his neck and bones. It's okay. It's okay to not know, but we're here with you. And you're probably overwhelmed right now, like you're drowning in an ocean. But
an abyss?
Yes, an abyss, a terrible, terrible abyss. But there's the three of us, and we're here. And he crouches by, like, in between Xiaocheng and Yinghe. And he looks back at Yinghe for a moment, and then looks back at Xiaocheng. But we're here with you. And let's do this together.
Okay.
You know what helps me? I get it. When things are thrown at you there's a lot to think about and for your mind to grab hold of. So this helps me, at least. It gives me a chance to compartmentalize. And Lumièra will kind of like gesture slightly for Xainan to kind of move a little bit further away from Xiaocheng, while Lumièra will sit right next to them. Is there like there's a tree behind us or not?
Yes, there are multiple fruit trees all
Okay.
over. They're crouching in the shade of a beautiful peach tree.
Okay, so Lumièra will scooch back up against the tree and sit there, posture upright, and her back is directly against the tree. Pull your feet into you. It's easier for me when I'm grounding myself.
Okay.
It's hard to stay afloat when you feel like there's nothing around you, nothing keeping you tethered. So, feet flat on the ground, back up against the wall, and feel it. Let the wall be your strength until you build it up again.
Okay. I'm feeling better. Just a little better, but it's still... You all don't understand. It's not good. I doubt you would all be so compassionate if you knew exactly what I've done. What I did.
We all do things we are not proud of. Whether intentional or not. Doesn't mean you don't get sympathy.
Xainan is listening and looking at Yinghe. The last time that he saw her was in a room of fire. A place that he shouldn't be. But he listens to Lumièra. He feels his feet on the ground. And even though he was looking in that direction, you can hear the dirt beneath his boots grind as he turns back to face the conversation and crouch underneath the peach tree. Lumièra's right. And we're not here to judge you, we're here to bring back your folk.
Well, I hope you're able to, because what I've done is well, let me just start from the beginning. Let me just tell you all about all the shame and the guilt and the weakness and the failure that I've been carrying inside my chest, inside my soul. No, I should. I need to. I've been holding on to this for so long, for days, for weeks, maybe even for years, and I've had no place to put it, and I just need someone to know, so you can help me, so we can fix this. It all began with a nightmare. A nightmare that besieged me several weeks prior to now. In this nightmare, I saw the Emperor. She was standing alone in the mist, looking focused, regal as ever. Everything was calm and fine until it wasn't. Until the assassin struck. In my dream, someone kills the Emperor, and I don't know who, and I've been having this dream every night for weeks.
An omen. Seir blurts as he crouches closer to Yinghe, scanning over Ta's injuries, the state of them. And when he hears this nightmare, he just blurts it out. An omen.
I'm not a seer. I'm not a prophet. That's never been my domain of divinity. That's never been what I've been known for, what I've prided myself on. I told myself it was just a dream. It had to have just been a dream. But it kept coming. Day after day, night after night, until the day the Emperor announced she was ready to name her virtue, and then I panicked. At that, Xiaocheng twists the wrist of their hand, and the mist around them swirls and becomes lush, illustrated, like watercolor paints blooming across a damp canvas, daubed into being by the delicate flicks of a bamboo brush. And you all notice that they're weaving an illusion, a way to visually tell you the story as they encounter it verbally in tandem. You see it bloom into being in full 3-dimensional definition around your entire party, and you find yourselves amidst a crowd of painted gods, with amethyst pillars rising toward a domed watercolor ceiling. You recognize this place. It's the Hall of Peerless Destiny. And sitting atop a throne of red sandalwood, you see the Emperor, but painted, her long purple robes bleeding across this canvas of illusion. A watercolor version of Xiaocheng stands next to this throne, hands clasped behind their back, looking nervously and uncertainly up at the emperor. And then this painted emperor raises a hand and makes an announcement. And the real Xiaocheng continues to speak. The emperor's proclamation changed everything. Once the virtue is announced, the lines of power would shift. The future would become uncertain. My place by her side as her confidant, her protector, all of that would change. This painted crowd bursts into soundless cheers at the proclamation, raising their fists up into the sky, and you see watercolor fireworks streaking up toward this domed ceiling and exploding into infinite colors like dazzling, blooming chrysanthemums. But next to the emperor, the painted version of Xiaocheng does not look happy at all. That was finally my motivation to act. On the eve of everything changing forever, I had to be sure that my dream was just a dream. I couldn't risk it anymore. I just had to know. I couldn't think of another way, a way that wouldn't induce panic and more trouble than this silly courtier is worth. And the illusory paint strokes bleed into each other. They form a rainbow whirlwind, and this whirlwind across the canvas and dissipates into a smaller, darker chamber with wavering painted shadows. You see walls lined with painted weapons, shelves stocked with holy relics, and a depiction of Xiaocheng sneaks through this vestibule, heading toward a special nook in the very center, where you see a gourd with golden cracks across its body upon an elevated plinth. So, I stole into the Emperor's private artifact room and I took the river gourd. I knew that the river gourd was the font of the mist itself, that it was the source of dreams. I wanted to peek inside it, to seek answers about this dream of mine, to reassure myself that everything was going to be okay. I didn't want anything to change. I wanted the city to stay the same as it always was. So I looked inside. And the watercolor Xiaocheng reaches toward the painted gourd and lifts it off the plinth. And they hold it reverently but anxiously in their hands, and then they uncork it. And as soon as the stopper comes off, a river of mist explodes from the mouth of the gourd, flooding the artifact room, the Hall of Peerless Destiny, the azure complex surrounding it, the Vermilion Library on high, the White Forge, the Black River, every single corner of the City of Heaven. Thick, slashing brushstrokes of white tear across this canvas, assimilating the colorful, painted depictions of the gods into its swirling depths until nothing and no one remains, until the entire illusion is nothing but pure white mist. And then the mist retracts. It pulls backward through the Black River, the White Forge, the Vermilion Library, the Azure Complex, the Hall of Peerless Destiny, the Artifact Room, and back into the gourd. And the stopper flies into its mouth and seals it shut with a dense, graviturgic thunk. And this painted version of Xiaocheng, breathless, winded, still holding the gourd, staggers out into the Hall of Peerless Destiny, where they look around and they see no one. They stumble out into the royal palatial complex, where again they see no one, and Xiaocheng wanders from place to place, befuddled, shocked, calling out for another soul to answer, but getting no response. And then they finally look down at the gourd in their hands, and realization trickles across their face. Xiaocheng lifts the gourd, and they strain against the stopper. They try to uncork it, they try with all their might, but it won't budge. Frustrated, scared, they lift it above their head, and they smash it down against the ground, but it just bounces off the tile and rolls to a stop. And you see Xiaocheng try everything. Weapons pilfered from the artifact room, smashing down onto the gourd, not a single scratch. You see them throwing the gourd off the tallest peak of the Vermilion Library, down to the lowest temples of the Black River, uninjured. You even see Xiaocheng channeling lightning from the top of Taoli Bridge into the Spear of Seven Storms, a legendary artifact pilfered from the Emperor's private stores, and they blast the gourd with all their might, but it doesn't work. All it leaves behind is a very familiar smoking hole. And Xiaocheng continues, I tried everything. Weapons, force, magic. I even tried bartering with it, talking to it, begging it, pleading with it to open again, but nothing worked. So it was just me in the city, all alone. Me, and the gourd, and Brother Goose.
Wow. And I think Lumièra backs up against the tree right next to them and assumes the same pose she told them to take to ground herself as she's going through each part of the story over in her mind. Strike Team Nova can see her eyes flittering back and forth as she often does when she's contemplating or deep in thought.
Oh, I know I did something really bad. I made a terrible, horrible mistake, but it feels good to say it. Oh, to just say it out loud.
Seir lingers, still staring at Xiaocheng. At the frequency of these omens, this plane is so different. Now is the second time he's heard of an omen through someone else's eyes and not his. A burden that both Lumièra and Xiaocheng had to carry. And the fact that this omen, granted upon Xiaocheng, foretold the Emperor's assassination. And as he lingers on that, feeling something tighten around his chest, he quickly readjusts his robe across his chest and looks over at Xainan.
Xainan, hearing his name, finally shakes the dust, the mist from his eyes that he saw, and cuts a glance over.
This means that this means we have an opportunity here. If the gods are stuck in the gourd, and Xiaocheng, I mean, if the assassin is amongst the gods in the gourd in the other city, what's stopping the Emperor from being assassinated then and there? But
no!
They can't.
Oh no! You're right. Oh
No.
no!
That's my point.
Oh no! I trapped her in there with the assassin. Oh gods! Oh mist!
I don't think so. As
Why
Seir
don't we see
realizing
the
that
nightmare?
his
Why don't you show it to us? And Yinghe, who has been completely silent this whole time, steps forward out from the shadows, and Xiaocheng's head snaps in their direction. What was that? Wait, I'm sorry. Wait, who are you? Who are you?
How did you get here?
Seir's whole heart sinks deeper into his body, into his stomach. He was hoping that we would continue away in the direction, but now we're back to here. And we see a bead of sweat begin at the top of his forehead, down his face. But then curiosity also gets him, because I don't think he knows either. And he pans over to Yinghe and he says, "Yeah, yes. How did you get here, Yinghe, again?"
Lumièra looks so skeptical at your confusion, Seir. Like, you can just see on her face, like, you are so full of shit. You had something to do with it, but we're not going to talk about that right now because we have more important things to discuss.
I love that. Yeah, with all eyes on them, Yinghe shrinks back into the shadows of the other peach tree. They're standing like 30 feet away. They're not fully in the conversation. They kind of whisper shouted across the way. They go, I'm Yinghe. I'm not from the City of Heaven. I'm also not from the Cradle or the Underworld. I'm from Zhaoyao in Zhiguang. And Xiaocheng sniffs, like kind of wipes their face, straightens a bit, and cocks their head. I've never heard of Zhaoyao or Zhiguang. Is this some new province? Oh, no, it's a different plane of existence.
Yinghe, I think you are very injured. Lumièra, they've hit the trunk of that tree really bad.
Lumièra gets up as soon as you start her name, and she just walks over to Yinghe and squats in front of them, eyebrow raised skeptically. Let me help you with that.
Xainan looks down to Xiaocheng. Give us just a minute, please. And he wheels past Lumièra and Yinghe and to Seir. I believe this is your part to fix, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
You hear from Lumièra in the back.
Seir furrows his brow and looks up at Xainan and says, The hand
Forbid
sent them
this,
back.
so you should fix this.
Yes. And Seir, I think in immediate response to that, kind of being grounded amidst all of this chaos, reaches out towards the oracle and tries to do it in a very subtle way, because having a conversation in front of Xiaocheng won't work. And attempts to send a text message over to Artemis, essentially.
Okay. So there's as a tiny orange, a smaller version of the oracle, a more discreet version, appears in the palm of your hand, more like a clementine, with the same size twig and leaf.
Oh, hello. Look who it is. Come crawling back to the Oracle for a favor. I'm not such a dim-witted creation of fate anymore now, am I, now that you need my help?
They mask completely off as Seir returns back to the grumpy man that hides deep within him as a sigh exits his body. I need to connect to the Hand of Fate, Artemis, please.
That please sounded a little quiet.
Please, Oracle.
And?
I'm sorry I called you a dim-witted creation of fate.
And?
And?
Say that you're a poo-poo head.
Oh. Seir looks over at Xainan, and
Xainan gives
am
him
a
nothing.
poo-poo head.
Oh, you look so silly saying that. Oh, I
The
wish you could bite
hand,
me
Oracle.
now, but you can't. Okay, fine, poo-poo head, like you said so yourself. I recorded that, by the way.
What? And I think that gets caught onto the end of the first of the sentence that's being sent to Artemis, and he just sighs really loudly and quickly texts Artemis the following. Hand, it seems that the chosen from Zhaoyao is here. I didn't think that they would be able to contact me. How shall I proceed?
There's a pause as the text goes through the surface of the oracle, and then the orange color subsumes it, and hear like a ding kind of delivered sound. And then, almost immediately, the leaf on the stem starts to grow long, like a ticker tape, with a message inscribed in standard Syndicate tongue. And it reads,
You were worried about only having 3 members of your strike team. Now there are 4 of you. The journey's threads are already unraveling here, so leave it to fate to tie up any loose ends once your mission is complete. Be careful.
And that's the end of the message.
Seir stares at this lengthened leaf, and I think he holds it in front of Xainan and looks over at Xainan.
Xainan reads it, and at first you can see his expression harden, his jaw tightens. And then he gets to the end of the leaf, nods like Artemis said it to him, and just wheels around back to Xiaocheng.
And Seir rolls it up and places it in one of his pockets. I guess that's permission.
When
He's
you
just-
tear the message off, the oracle lets out a
Ah! Bet you felt bad. It didn't actually hurt. But I bet you felt bad in that moment. Simmer in that. Let that simmer. Percolate in it.
Oracle.
Pickle yourself.
And he puts one ball bearing into the access point of the oracle.
Oh, just
Hopefully
a
that'll
single
make you feel
one?
better.
You're so stingy. Thank you.
And Seir rolls his eyes before he follows immediately in Xainan's shadow over towards Lumièra and Yinghe.
Xainan is not taking you there. Xainan is staying with Xiaocheng.
Oh, you're saying Xiaocheng? My bad. He's walking over towards Yinghe then.
Let's pan in on Xainan and Xiaocheng for a moment. As you approach the courtier of four symbols, having been briefly left behind by your party, Goose had waddled over and is kind of sitting between their legs and making the closest noise that geese can to purring as Xiaocheng is kind of stroking their feathers like in a self-soothing manner, and Goose looks up with clear concern for the courtier of four symbols. And they're still like crying a little, but it's starting to subside.
Now that is a good way to soothe.
You think so? I've only known Brother Goose for missed days? But I feel as though we've been through everything together.
That happens when you're at the end of the world together.
I sure hope this isn't the end of our world. Sister Realms still have tales to tell if I have anything to do about it. I hope I didn't contribute to its ending.
No, hardly. But change can feel like cataclysm.
Change is the worst thing I can think of. I just wanted everything to stay the same, Xainan. I just wanted everything to stay the same.
But if it had stayed the same, you wouldn't have met Brother Goose.
Well, Brother Goose was this close to becoming a meal for the Western Wind God.
Aren't you lucky, Brother Goose?
Honk!
I would be very curious about your vision, but let's give them a minute.
Yes, they seem to have things to sort out with that. Not quite god, not quite cultivator either, from another plane. And speaking of Yinghe, we push across the courtyard to find Seir, Lumièra, and the Chosen of Xiaoyao. Yinghe stands in the shade of the tree, nervously fretting their fingers together, still hunched in slight pain from their ribs. I hope I didn't cause too many problems. I was just trying to keep an eye out for you, Seir. Make sure you were okay.
No, you didn't. And Seir crouches by Lumièra, and in the exchange of asking Lumièra, how are they doing? He hands you the tail end of the entirety of the message that was sent by Artemis.
Lumièra will push it back in your hands for a second. You know she's doing something. She's gotta focus. And she reaches into her pocket and pulls out a stick of her gum, passing it to Yinghe. Chew this first, completely.
Oh, okay. And Yinghe takes it, and while still holding on to one end, starts chewing the other end halfway.
The whole thing, I would suggest you do so. The last person that
Okay.
did it didn't work out so well for.
Oh. Yinka pops the whole stick of gum into their mouth. It's clear they've never encountered gum before. They chew a few times, then they swallow. Mmm.
Oh, that's one way to
Sticky.
do it. And Lumièra will like raise both of her hands up, like looking at Yinghe. Can I? Like, is it alright to have your consent
yes.
to touch you?
Please, I would appreciate that.
Okay. And Lumièra will start doing her thing. The gum starts working, and she's just essentially feeling along Yinghe's ribcage to see if there's like any broken bones or anything along the lines of that. It just feels like some bruises. So it wouldn't be, I don't have to reset any bones. Good. And she will pull, like kind of rip the bottom section of her cloak off to make almost like a binding around Yinghe's midsection to kind of like hold it together and give them a bit more support.
Oh, thank you. It feels better. I think it's just some light bruising. I appreciate that. Healer
was
of
my
Strike Team
assessment.
Nova.
You're welcome. And when she's done, she'll then turn to Seir. What? And grab the
And
note.
as he passes on the note, he whispers closer to Lumièra's ear. It seems that the hand of fate permits this. And he says that so uncertainly. He looked to Xainan for reassurance, and now he's looking to Lumièra for reassurance that this permission is real, and he's not imagining this piece of leaf that has been handed over to us.
Well, that's what it looks like.
I
I
will
would
take
love
point
to
on this.
catch up and talk more, but I do think probably we should address the whole Emperor about to be assassinated thing first. That feels a little urgent.
Yes,
If I could make a suggestion. I was
Yeah.
going to say, and Yinka raises their voice so Xainan and Xiaocheng can both hear, that, well, regarding the attempted assassination that may or may not be an omen, could you show us what you saw? Like you did with the events leading up to what brought us here? And Xiaocheng kind of sniffs one last time, looks up, doesn't stand yet, but addresses all of you. That's actually a pretty good idea, Yinghe. Thank you. Yes, okay, I can, but I don't like thinking about it again. It's a terrible vision. It's not one I would like to revisit or relive. Frankly, it fills me with shame and with fear.
She has faith in you. Ta sent us back to help you.
Okay, then I will work through the fear. For her. For the
Xainan
Emperor.
offers them a hand.
Xiaocheng takes it and stands. And as they do, the mist starts to swirl once more with illusory magic. And Xiaocheng says, the reason I didn't tell anyone about this dream, I didn't confide it to anyone, is because I didn't want to believe that it was real. And even thinking about it, to me, feels like it makes it more real. If I don't look at it, I can act like it doesn't exist, like everything's okay. But I think I have to look at it if we are to move forward. And they start to shape a recollection of their nightmare out of this fog. And you all see, swirling from the depths of this mist, an image of the Emperor surfacing. We see familiar painted brushstrokes with deep purples and royal silvers, a long black stroke to represent their hair. She stands in the mist, calm and regal, just like Xiaocheng had described, looking out over the fog with a contemplative expression. And then, lunging out of the mist, an assailant. Their form is vague. You can make out no face, no expression, no distinguishing features. The mist perfectly obscures their identity. You do see the assailant thrusting out an arm and a blade unfurling from their grasp, piercing the Emperor's heart. Even in this dream, even in this layered vision, you can feel it. Long Du's soul shattering to pieces. The silhouette of the Emperor and the assassin disperse into the mist and rejoins the swirling fog until no figures remain. Seir, you, and you alone, see a third figure, woven from watercolor mist, daubed into being by a single black paint stroke, a gash across the canvas. A man with a deer's head. Towering antlers, bristling fur, broken strings of red, watching this vision, watching this omen. And then the mist thickens, and the man is gone. I know. Terrible, isn't it? That's why I don't like to think about it.
Did I see anything distinct about the dagger? Did we see the dagger exactly? What did it look like? What
That's my
color?
question.
Sure.
What was it made of?
You all can certainly roll to find out. So, Lumièra, if you'd like to investigate the mist, maybe just like with your eyes, you certainly can. Xainan, what would you like to do?
He wants to know specifically if it's familiar.
Okay.
If it's perhaps a blade that he saw being forged not long ago.
Sure. Why don't you both investigate? So how are you taking in this mist and what's going through your mind?
So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use diagnoses, but I'm also going to use a little bit of my chronergy as well. I want to kind of scrub the mist, turn it back and pause it directly on the knife. Even if it's not subtle to everyone else, it is just for her. And kind of freeze frame on that dagger to see if there's anything familiar about it. So I'm going to use diagnoses. I'm going to use control of time and shielded by time as well.
Okay. I will not invoke any weakness tags, but I will say I will invoke Haunted 3, which is a status you have. As you're trying to peer into the mist, you remember the last time it swirled out of nowhere. You remember the fear of being in it while you were in the dreaming city. Those emotions fight against your investigative curiosity. So why don't you roll the bones for me? While that's happening, Xainan, what tags would you like to invoke?
Xainan immediately goes into the part of his life where he walked into places, smiled, met people, memorized all the exits, all the windows, security systems. And I would like to use Student of Those Before, Resourceful Criminal, and Roguishly Charming to try and recall as much detail as he can in comparison to the weapons in the White Forge and this blade.
Okay. All right. I am going to invoke your status drained 2 against that. So you just have a net +1. You're still pretty battered from the fight with the demons. So as you're trying to recall, I think your mind is still swimming with the pain from the most recent combat encounter you had. Seir, while this is happening, what do you do?
Funny. I think the rest of Nova is distracted with the vision, but Seir is distracted by that man, that antlered man, once again hiding in shadow, in omens, and his familiar shroud unsettles Seir. I Seir's never done this before, I don't think. This is him trying something new out of desperation.
Okay.
What I want to do is I want to pierce through the vision like layers of a web to try and find the origin point. Something like omens are granted, they're given this an origin point. Who is giving these omens? Who's giving this warning? For what purpose?
Okay.
Who is that man?
That sounds like you're gazing into the mist. So
I
roll
know.
2d6
I had a
plus
feeling you'd say
tags.
it.
You're literally gazing into the mist. So what tags would you like to invoke?
Oh, okay. I would like to invoke the. I'd like to evoke the tags Brother's Devotion, Seeing Omens, Weave Omens, and that's about it. That can use
Okay.
this.
I'm going to invoke your status marked for death. 1. So that's just a net +2. I think as you peer into the mist, an aspect of the mist still lingering in your memory from when you were in the gourd with everyone else buzzes at the back of your mind, the corrupted version of the mist, right? Fighting you for clarity of vision. So let's circle back to the top. Lumièra, what did you get?
Flat 10.
A flat 10, okay. So on a 10 plus, that's really good. I will describe an additional crucial detail that even a skilled sleuth might miss, in addition to describing the area's general ambiance and any prominent features that your trained senses notice. So, in regards to this vision, the identity of the assailant, as described, is impossible to parse. There's no way to discern the who of the killer, or the what of the weapon, even with your 10 plus. Its manifestation as a blade feels metaphorical here. It is the representation of the act of assassination, as opposed to a literal representation of the future that is to come. So it could be a sword, it might well be a sword. It could also be through magic, or an axe, or a crescent, or an arrow, or any number of means. That's the additional clue you pick up on. It's clearly a metaphor, a symbol. Xainan, what did you get?
Haha. It's a good thing that Lumièra got all that, because I got a 6.
Yeah, no. So Xainan, I'm gonna need you to pick one of your themes.
Yeah. I think because all of those came from the same Logos identity, I think it's gotta be everyone and no one.
Ooh, okay. So I will describe how it rages, weeps, or dissociates in response to a detail in the scene. This is something that will, depending on Seir's role, might also resonate with what he picks up on, but who knows what he's rolling. Xainan. The part of you that resonates in a deep, untethered, denied way. A part of you that perhaps you have been wanting to leave behind for months, for years. The intention of the killer. This is violence for violence's sake. There is a kind of delight in it. So Xainan, tell me about the last time you remember delighting in inflicting violence on someone.
It was a bad day at Trans. Xainan doesn't go to the training rooms very often, and he went there to pick a fight. And he didn't stop fighting until his knuckles were bloody.
Who did you pick a fight with?
I think his intention was to go there and fight the first person that he knew would fight him. And I think I don't know. I think he found someone that he knew he would lose to.
Wuyin, then.
Yes.
Yes. How long ago was this, Xainan?
Couple years. He's been trying to extinguish that fire forever.
As you gaze at this vision and you feel that violence come from that unseen assailant, you feel it ring within something inside you as well. And there's that awful tug, right? A hook behind your navel, like a claw trying to pull out your insides, but in a way that is almost enjoyable. There's that bloodthirst in you. You have it in you too, Xainan. Perhaps if the paths were different, if the choices looked different, if the fate was different, perhaps this was something that you would be capable of as well, and you see it. Seir. Hold on. Let me rewind. You also suffer or worsen a status of my choice. That's part of the mist. So I'm going to increase Haunted to 4. From 3 to 4.
I thought you were gonna say that.
Oh my god,
y'all.
please.
Okay.
This man's fine.
Xainan?
No, you're not.
Just so we know, 6 is death. If any of your statuses hit a 6,
Welcome
you're
to
dead, or
the
you might as well be.
club. Hi, Haunted. High five.
No!
Nova's doing great.
I am not a healer!
I am, so we're doubly fucked.
No!
Seir, what did you get for Gaze into the Mist?
I rolled a 9.
Okay. On a 7 to 9, the mist provides muddled and disturbing visions. Pick 2 attributes, and I will describe what omens bloom from them. The attributes you can pick from are a color, a shape, a number, a sound, and an emotion.
Give me a sound and an emotion, Connie.
Okay, let's do the sound first.
Mhm.
You hear a grunt of exertion. And then a weapon thrust forward, and you hear from the Emperor. A gasp they've never made, but a gasp that they have heard fall from the lips of her twin sister once. You hear a you. Of recognition. Whoever this assassin is, Longdu knows them. There's no response from the assailant before Longdu's soul shatters. And now the emotion. The killing is not personal. In fact, the assassin isn't even really acting like an assassin. They're not sinking the blade in to kill from their perspective. In their mind, they're sinking it in to free. To free Longdu from having to pretend about being anything other than violent, selfish, and destructive at her core. Just like the assassin is. The assassin believes that everyone should embrace what they think is a god's truest, purest nature: violence. Killing the Emperor in the mind of the assassin is an act of liberating Ta and everyone else from this masquerade of denial.
I think Seir walks through the vision and is combing it for the antlered man when he is face to face with this interaction, and he steps back. What? And I think he turns over to Nova. She knows them. The assailant. This is not a surprise. It happens. It's to the killer. This is like truth, a freeing, a liberation.
Son,
They think.
Yeah.
didn't you say something about the Emperor having a lost twin or something like that?
In the underworld.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to make assumptions, but if there's anyone that would think that death was liberating, I think it'd be them.
I think it is fair to think it's someone outside of the gourd. Because if there's someone inside, why hasn't an attempt been made already? Everyone is scattered mind, vulnerable. It means they can't get to them.
They were trying to get the gourd.
The gourd is probably the key to a lot of it, and probably the only thing that is keeping it at bay for now.
But we're losing them in that mist.
So we work harder. Think harder.
Xiaocheng turns to your party. You all said something about bringing the gods back. Have they figured out a way? I need to talk to the Emperor. I need to tell them about this. I need to make sure they're okay.
Yes, and I think having everyone together might be the best course of action. Especially if everyone knows that the Emperor is in danger. You're not alone here. Not just Brother Goose, not just the demons, not just us.
And a small tear comes out from the corner of their eye. They're all cried out, basically. It's been like a pressure valve that's been released while they wept, and now it's back down to a normal level, but a little tear comes out. Thank you. And I am grateful for your help. I've been shouldering this all by myself because I thought I had to, and I wasn't sure if I could trust you at first, but now it's clear that I can and I must. So yes, it's good to not be alone anymore. I've tried everything to open the gourd. Like I said, I've tried force, I've tried magic, I've tried talking to it. Nothing works.
You haven't tried everything.
What do you mean?
Everything would include all of us together. You have not. So you have not tried everything.
So, do you have some hidden magic that you can use to blast it open?
Lumièra's eyes widen a bit, but like just as quickly as they widen, go back. I just heal. That's it.
A worthy craft. But I would like to unheal the gourd if possible.
Well, I think I might know a little bit about that too.
Healers are often the most devastating combatants, knowing exactly where to strike and when to do it. So, what tactic then do you have up your sleeves?
That we don't know yet. We are still trying to learn this.
We do know.
Oh, we
You
do know.
Above the
You
table,
do know.
you do.
Yeah, we do know.
Yeah.
Okay,
Trying to-
ignore me.
Yeah, no, right there with you.
All right,
We're here,
we'll
we're here.
rewind to after Xiaocheng asks the question.
There's, besides all of us, there's one more that the Emperor said is not inside of the gourd. A
What?
sage top of the
sage?
mountain.
Up the mountain. That
What?
one?
There are many mountains.
And I think Seir points to the tallest one.
Like the tallest,
that hovers
biggest
up-
mountain?
that hovers
just-
above.
Yeah. Huh. Tiandu Feng, the celestial peak. So the rumors are true? That a great sage lives at its top?
I
According to
see
the
that you
Emperor.
were not aware.
Well, if the Emperor herself said it to you, then it must be so. Oh, of course the mist couldn't have taken the great sage at the top of Celestial Peak because the mist doesn't rise that high. That's also why none of the gods go there, of course. Our magic grows weaker beyond the mist. Well, perhaps not all is lost. And Yinghe steps forward. I would like to help as well, if possible. I know what it's like to lose a god. My god was also felled in a method most violent and tragic, and my home has not been the same since her death. I would go to great lengths to prevent that pain from happening to anyone else. So, if you'll have me, I'd like to come along. Well, who am I to refuse help? you are more than welcome to assist our efforts, and thank you for lending your blade, Yingke. Metaphorically, of course, I don't really know what you fight with. Darkness. Right! Okay. Wonderful then. So, Celestial Peak it is, yes?
Yes. it
Yes.
is.
Xiaocheng flourishes their robes, and all of the dirt and the pollen and the grime, it just completely flies off. Like their garments weren't even sullied in the first place. They hit all of you in the face. They don't seem to notice, or if they do, they don't care. They take a deep, shuddering breath, and when they exhale, they look a smidge more like the smiling courtier who greeted your party at the Ascension Gate. Thank you, esteemed cultivators, for assisting this unworthy courtier. I am feeling something I haven't felt since I got everyone into this mess in the first place. I am feeling hopeful. So, I believe we have a peak to climb, and we better get on it. Tiandufeng, the Celestial Peak, as you all know, is the tallest mountain in the entire City of Heaven, and I've personally never been to the top. I don't really know what's waiting for us up there, so we should make haste.
Haste it is. Right. Nova?
Behind you.
Love mountain climbing.
Excellent! Me too! I'll lead. And with that, your party sets off toward the Celestial Peak. And we're gonna take a break there. So thank you all so much for tuning into part 1 of this episode of Arc 2 of the Chaos Protocol. We are gonna be back in just about 10 minutes, so hang on tight. We have a brand new promo video from sponsor Connie about Cheipeku, so stick around for that if you're in the Twitch or the YouTube. And in the meantime, check out our Patreon. That's how you can support us the best and the most for only $3 a month at the lowest tier. Love you all. See you soon. Bijou in 10 minutes.